Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for visiting once again. And so I'm coming back to the Gloster Pioneer, that very special aircraft built by the Gloster Aircraft Company to accommodate and test the Gloster Whittle W1 engine, or the Whittle W1 engine. Things are moving along a bit here. You may recall the last time we looked at gluing together the sides of the fuselage here, and we've put in the cockpit and so on and so forth. And what I've done is filled up the inside here that you can see, so filled those gaps in, and we've got some now got some filler in there, so it begins to look a little bit more, shall we say, joined up. There's still one little thing to do inside the cockpit here. If I just zero in on this for you a little bit. Which is to put something into to fill in the coaming here. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap there, but since the windshield, the front canopy shield goes in that area anyway, and not an awful lot of that will be hidden, but it's as well to get that absolutely right, if at all possible. So there we go. So back we go to distance again. But what I'm going to do today is a couple of things, just to basically put the wings on and to get them seated and sighted as well as we possibly can. I'll use a bit of extra thick and extra thin. As you can see, it slides about a bit, but I've done some preparatory fitting work there, and hopefully things will look reasonably good with the, as you see, it slips around. Things will look reasonably good with the dihedral, and it'll all look quite even Stevens there, but we'll look at that in a minute anyway. I'm also going to do something else with the canopy as well, which might be interesting to you, which I haven't done to a canopy for some years actually now, so it'll be a bit of a departure and something to see for you there. But whilst you're here, if this is your first time coming to visit here, then thanks very much for coming along. I'm delighted to see you, and I hope you enjoy what you see. Do feel free to subscribe. That doesn't cost anything, but it does help the channel to grow, which is always nice for me, I suppose. And it means that other people get to see more of my videos, and hopefully that's nice for them. Yeah, hit the subscribe button, and I think there's some sort of notification bell as well. So I just found something there. Oh, that's useful. Good. Yes, I thought I'd lost that. I'll leave that there so it's safe. Anyway, so be that as it may, let's get on with it. So yeah, we need to put the wings on. That's quite an important feature, otherwise we don't have much of an aircraft, do we? Let's face it. And as I said before, the join lines here between the wing and the fuselage are reasonably good, but there are some gaps that are fairly yawning that you can see there. But what we're going to have to do is glue this in and then tape it so that it fits okay, but also to be reasonably careful with that seam there, because there is a join that's molded into the plastic, so we can try and get that as right as we possibly can to allow us to make sure that that looks reasonably good. So I'll get these two. I'm going to start things off by just adhering a little bit with extra thick. So what I'm going to do is just very carefully just put a bead of the white cap just along the inside edge of that area there. Not a lot, just a little. And just to allow me to start the bonding process, as it were. In that sense, it makes it a little bit sticky, and let's see where we go with that. Let's just put that there, so we've got everything else closed up and shall we say ship shape and Bristol fashion. And I'll just drop that on there. Now hopefully that will give us something to, yeah, that has started the process. So I'm going to come underneath this and have a quick look at this so that I can see it very clearly, because being old, my eyes are not that good anymore. I suspect that, if you're that age, then it may be the same for you as well. And that is just the way of things, I'm afraid. It's what happens, I fear. So what we'll then do is I'll use a bit of the quick setting extra thin and just draw that and let capillary action be our friend here. And just hold that there. We'll just hold it down for a second. It only takes a few seconds to bond, which is quite nice. And we can turn that over and do the same on the other side. Then we can have a look at the junctions where we've glued the fuselage halves together. It's the morning and my brain hasn't started working yet, so I'm not making much sense. I do agree if that's what you're saying. Now look here, Zinners, come on, get yourself sorted out. You're supposed to be presenting to the world at large and you're not making a good job of it. I can't blame you if you think that. But as you can see, beginning to look like an aeroplane now, which is always good. I'll do a comparison between this and the M52 at some stage because they're quite similarly sized actually, as it happens. So there we go. So yeah, they're all right. So I'm going to tape these up just to give it a little bit of support for a couple of hours or so, and just a bit of tension there just to keep that under tension, and then we'll find hopefully that everything should be, as they say, tickety-boo. So as you can see, we can just draw in on this and you can see that the junctions here where the wings meet the fuselage are pretty good actually, and we won't need to do too much to them to make them look good, which I'm quite pleased about. And let's go back out a little bit. The dihedrals look rather good. So I mean, after having done this, the next thing will be to put the undercarriage on, just to tidy up those joints in there actually where I filled in those gaps, but I'll do that off camera because you don't want to see that, it's very dull. Since I'm going to be doing the original unpainted aircraft, so as it was at Brockworth, I know I said Morton Vallance the last time, but the original taxi trials were done on the grass airstrip at Brockworth, and compared to the later Cranfield flying aircraft variant, which is the same one obviously, the front undercarriage leg was lengthened so that the aircraft sort of pointed slightly upwards. I'm going to shorten the front undercarriage leg so that it looks like the aircraft that did the taxi trials at Brockworth, so that will be better. So anyway, with relation to getting the fuselage halves together, what I have done here, we'll get in on this so that you can see the detail here. I think hopefully you can. Some of it's covered by tape, but as you can see, those details there with the joints are almost pretty much covered up, and I will unify them with some grey primer, and that'll show up if there are any gaps there. But I'll need to score in these panel lines again here. You can just about feel them up to there, and you can use a couple of things to do that. Let's bring that out there. You can use one of these little saws like this. One of these, I have one of these for this specific purpose, and you can just pick up the gap and then run it across, and it will start to pull out the material. We can show you that here, and I just run it back till it clicks into the surface, and then draw it along the surface like that. And as you can see, it brings out a little bit of the plastic, and you can do that with an angle at one side like that, and then you can do it at an angle at the other side like that, and this just opens up the joint just a little bit. And this is particularly useful when you're just doing replenishment after having sanded, which, as you can see, I have done here and here as well. So it's a quite straightforward process, but you do have to be a bit careful where the panel line might be either light or have disappeared. Now, something that I use, which might be in here or it might be in one of the lower drawers, is I'll find it in a minute, it's in here somewhere. This stuff, just Dymo tape, and you take it off. It's sticky, it loses its sticky reasonably quickly, but you use a short strip of it and you can use it to mate up to the line that you've obscured, and then you can run your pointer over it and then use the saw afterwards. So those gaps top and bottom are looking pretty good now. They're more or less done, apart from where I've got the tail guard here, but I've left that like that so you can actually for yourself have a look and see where some of the inaccuracies that I've plumbed out, shall we say, actually are. So as you will recall, there was some gappiness here and some unevenness. Let's get a poker here, and what I've done is used the longest side of the fuselage that I had here, which I pointed out the last time, to glue the tailpipe in, and I've actually levelled it up to that so that it looks reasonably straight in both orientations, having put the tail on. And what I can then do is fill in this little gap here, and this will then look pretty good, I would hope. As you can see, just to point out here, done a bit of sanding there. There we are, look. The skin of the aircraft is dural aluminium, and that the control surfaces were all canvas. Now they were canvas covered control surfaces. So as you can see here, there is some trim control here as well, as you can see there, but that is why they'll be different. So these will be painted. I've not decided whether I'm going to paint them grey or a sort of a lightish buff colour, because there's some doubt as to precisely what colour these were, because the pictures are all black and white, of course, and the people that were involved right at the start aren't alive anymore, so can't tell us. I shall make a choice as to which I'm going to do. I might use a sort of a light brown buff colour, shall we say, along the desert yellow kind of touch, you know, maybe something like that. I'll see what it looks like and then make a choice from there. But otherwise I could use a grey, maybe a dark grey, an Imperial Japanese navy grey or something like that. That's field blue, that's not what I'm looking for at all. Yeah, IJN grey, something of that kind, which might look, it might be a bit too dark, but not really sure yet. But the rest of it will be covered coloured RAF silver. So there we go. So that's that side of it. There will be some additional detail I shall put into the cockpit as well, and I'll give you a little view of them so that you can see. So nearest I can find from my researches is, I mean, this cockpit's a bit bare. There were some bits and pieces. There was a gyro compass in here. I shall debate with myself whether I'm going to make something for that. But there was a lever on this side and a lever on this side. I think the lever on this side had to do with the throttle setting, and that would seem to be logical. The other one on this side probably was the undercarriage retraction lever, or the undercarriage up and down lever type of thing. And I'm going to make I've made a couple of these which I shall paint, and this is one of them, which one can just essentially slide in here after this fashion. Oh, no. All you do is super glue it in, and it'll sit in there like that. Let's just go right in on that so you can see how that looks. The lever will be silver and the rest of it will be green, so there we go, that's how that will go. So I'll put a couple of them in, just gives a little bit of extra visual interest before I put the canopy on. Now, as you will know, the canopy on this is CP1 that you can see here. Let's put the glue away. I keep talking about good housekeeping, don't I, and then I don't do it. Bad sinners. Anyway, the canopy here is a one-piece canopy, so I don't want that. I want the canopy to be open, so I have cut these two sections apart after this fashion, and I shall put this on the front here like this, and then mount this behind like that. But because I've cut this, let's put that back up there, because I've cut this section here, I'm going to add on another section of plastic rod to act as, that means I will need that actually, to act as a fillet, as it were, so that this then will look the right length. Otherwise it will look too short, and people who are in the know about this sort of thing may notice it, but I want to have a frame here because there was a frame there. So what one needs to do is to quickly sand this, just to, this is an 800 grit stick that I'm using here, just to give us a nice surface on which to work. And I'm going to use a technique here that you will have seen me use before if you've seen my videos, particularly on the TSR2, and it is one of these things where I use a piece of thin plastic rod and I can then bend it around this shape here, and it's surprisingly easy to do. So let's put that away there, drop those things out the way, and just make certain that we're in the right place. So I'm going to show you how to do that today, and we need a little bit of extra thin. Now gluing this on is going to be a bit of a trick, because if you hold a thing like this, for example, and then dab a blob of glue in there, it'll all wick across the surface. So we're going to have to be careful and actually hold the thing there like that away from the surface and then glue it in. So this is actually a longer piece of plastic than I actually need. However, it's square, and you can see that it's quite thin. So once you try to heat it with your fingers, just body heat will do this with these sort of thin sections, you can then start to introduce bends into them, just very simply like this. So the action of just curving this in you know, between your thumb and forefinger in that way allows us to introduce a sometimes quite sharp bend into it. As you can see, it started to happen already, but we can get a quite sharp bend there. Let's move that white out of the way. You can see that a lot better then, can't you? And what we can do is just do a bit of a wind like that, and what we then have is something that we can, oh hello, that wasn't what we wanted to do, we can then put onto the canopy ourselves, and there's a bit of a burr there. We can then shape it to the canopy and glue it on as we go. So I'll start on one side, glue that bit on, and then move to the other side. So again, we do have to be a bit careful, and I'm going to try and hold my finger away from this. I want this to sit at slightly proud on the outside because it's a framework, but it doesn't need to be very highly proud, as it were. Anyway, so just see this how difficult it can be, because these will move quite easily. I'm just going to zero in a little bit on this so that you can see precisely what's going on, because it's going to be delicate. Let's use a pair of, no, I can't use a pair of tweezers. We just have to use our fingers and be jolly careful. So much concentration required. Just hold that there. There, right, so we're on the way. I think we're on the way. So what we can then do just look to try and, I've noticed here actually whilst I've looked at this, where I've sawed this, you can actually see an imperfection. Let's go right in on this. You can see an imperfection where, can you see that there? You just see, if I move that back and forth, you can see there's a slight gapping between the plastic rod and the canopy itself, and that's where my shall we say, my sawing was imperfect. So what I'm going to have to do is, I'm having some problems actually with that drying actually as it happens. Let's let that dry for a minute. It may take, yes, I can see what's happened there. See, that's come away. So, fiddly thy name is Zinners. Oh no, that fell off that bit. So what we'll do is I'll go from the other side. If I have to get another piece of plastic and start again, then I will. But I'll go from the other side where I can just sort of start this off really a little bit. Let's just give you a little bit more room to see here. Yeah, we got a little bit of discoloration, but only on the framework. It's actually quite useful in that sense. So we've been careful, or careful enough. I'm going to try and just get that as near to the shape of the canopy as I possibly can, because that's going to make the job much easier as we go. And I may have to glue some of this on and then do the rest off camera by the look of it, but I'm going to go from this side because it's much flatter. That's not flat there. It is now. See how easy these things are to shape. It's dead simple. Probably a good idea to put this on the right end, eh? So what we'll do is we'll just, there we go. Oh, it moved. Thought I got it then, eh? There we go. So that's, we'll just let that sit on there, and we'll leave that for now, and I'll just drop that down there. So we'll just move that away, and I'm going to drop that on the ground there just for a while, and you can see what it looks like, and we'll let that dry, and then once it's dried, and I'm going to leave it for 15 or 20 minutes or so, then I can do the next bit around, and then I can finish it off, and then I've got a framework that I can paint, and so we'll have, you know, the silver outside, and I suspect I shall do like a green inside type of thing, which I'll have to brush paint for that because it's not see-through, of course. And we'll then have ourselves a canopy done. As you can see, it's extremely fiddly. I had hoped to be able to do the whole thing all at once with you, but that's not to be, I'm afraid, because of how remarkably fiddly that is. Let's shut the glue up then, put that away up there. But this is looking more and more like an aeroplane as time goes by. That's all good, and we need to make the wheels up at some stage. That's the fellow. That could be Jerry Sayer, that one, who was the test pilot who did the taxi trials of the aircraft. Anyway, So we're moving along. There'll be more things done when I'm back to see you next time, but we've done a couple of operations here and we're heading in the right direction, as you can see. So I'll have done some filling up and some filling in and some sorting out there, and hopefully things look all right with this when I'm done. And we'll let it go now. I'll see you on the next one. I hope that was an interesting video for you. It was a little impromptu in some parts, so I hope that you had something useful to look at there. Do come back and visit again. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you the next time that you're around. Take care for now. Bye.